Welcome to my garden. My name is Lisa, and today I'm going to share with you what I'll be planting out in the month of November, as well as show you what's happening in my Florida fall garden. I'll show you what's currently thriving, as well as what didn't quite make it or started struggling through the month of October. So let's go ahead and get started. To start with what I'm planting, first would be potatoes. And I purchased these seed potatoes online. This specific variety is called Purple Passion. It has a purple skin on the outside and a purple flesh on the inside. It'll be my first time growing this specific variety this year. I've grown Yukon Gold in the past and they've always done well for me, but I decided to switch it up this year. And before I plant this out, I'm waiting for these little sprouts or the eyes right here to develop a little more, because this is where the growth of the plant will start sprouting up from. I can technically plant these potatoes out without waiting for them to sprout, and they should be fine because we're no longer in a rainy season. But generally, I like to wait until they sprout their little eyes before I plant them. That way, they're not sitting in damp soil for too long, which can possibly rot the potatoes. But I've grown them both ways successfully, and I've even tossed unused potatoes in the compost, and months later I suddenly have potato plants sprouting from my compost. So not too worried about it, but just in case, because this is a really cool variety. Next up is garlic. I purchased this seed garlic online as well, and this variety is called Ajo Rojo Creole. It's actually a hardneck variety. I have grown softneck varieties before, which are recommended for Florida and all the other southern states that have warmer climates. But hardnecks can also be done here. They just need a longer period of cold or vernalization in the refrigerator before they get planted out into the actual garden. So because of that, I'm actually not going to be planting these out until literally the last couple of days of November. And that's because these actually didn't go in the fridge until very late September. So they need that time in the fridge vernalizing before I plant them out. And I'm not going to break these bulbs up until I'm ready to plant. And when I do break them up, I'm going to select the largest cloves to plant those out. I won't bother with the smaller cloves because then we'll get smaller bulbs at the very end. And I'd rather use the space that I have in my garden beds wisely. Next up is bok choy. I already started these in September and October, but I'll be starting more now in November. And I'm mainly starting more because I noticed something really strange with the last batch that I planted in one of my raised beds. They seemed to be growing upside down, which is the wildest thing ever. I should have recorded it. It was very strange. The leaves were upside down. It was growing strange, and they were directly sown in my garden beds. So it's just the weirdest thing. But anyway, starting them again. I'll also be planting out sugar snap peas. I'm directly sowing these as well. And they do need some trellis support, so they will be growing along the trellis that you see behind me. I'm going to be sowing some more chamomile seeds. Now, this is a new seed packet that I bought from an online source, but none of them have germinated. I've already tried 3 times, and the seeds are super tiny. So seeds like this need to be sown on top of the soil and then lightly misted and kept damp or humid in order for them to sprout. They also need light in order to germinate. So they have been under some grow lights. I've tried growing indoor. I've tried starting them outdoors, and none of them have come up. So I'm thinking it's the actual seeds. I'm going to try again. If not, I'll just buy another packet online from a different source. I'll be starting carrots as well, and these will be directly sown in my garden beds. One variety here is the rainbow mix, which has grown very well for me in the past, and it's a lot of fun growing these. You don't know what colors you'll be pulling up from the ground, so it's pretty cool. And then I have another tried and true variety called Short and Sweet. And then a third variety that I actually just got in the mail from Survival Garden Seeds. I'm pretty excited to be growing this variety. This is called Little Fingers, which should also do really well out here. The rest of the seeds that I have are also from Survival Garden Seeds. I actually really love them. They have very high germination rates. The seeds that I have are all heirloom. So once the plants are established, if I decide to save seeds from them, I can, and they will grow true to type. I'll have some of these linked on this video in case you're interested in picking up some packets. So first we have turnips, and I will be directly sowing these as well. Beets. Now, I'm not a huge fan of beets, but this is a different variety. This is called Cylindra, and they are a thinner, longer variety of beets. And what I actually like to do with beets is to dry them out in my food dehydrator and then grind them up into a powder and then use that in smoothies or even as a natural food dye or coloring. I've actually used beet powder to color or dye my homemade soy candles. Depending on how much you use, you can achieve a nice light purple or lilac color to a deep red or magenta, which is beautiful. And for my leafy greens or reds, I should say, one variety that I'm really excited to start growing is this Lola Rosa. This is lettuce, and I do already have some lettuce in my beds. I have specifically butter crunch lettuce, but this is going to be a nice contrast of color in the garden. So I'm pretty excited to grow this one. I'll be starting kale, the lacinato variety. I'll be starting some spinach. Now, spinach is pretty fussy, especially out here in Florida or southern states. If you've tried growing spinach in the past and you're out in a warmer climate, you probably understand what I mean. They bolt really quickly. They don't like temperature fluctuations where it's nice outside for a good couple of weeks and then all of a sudden the temperatures spike up into the 90s like it regularly does here, especially in the springtime. So fall is a really nice time to actually grow spinach, and November is, I think, in my opinion, the perfect month to actually start spinach and grow it successfully. Otherwise, I grow tatsoi, which is a mustard green, but it has a very mild flavor. It's actually more mild than spinach, and I use it as a spinach substitute in all of my dishes. And it has a little bit more tolerance to those temperature fluctuations and warmer weather, which leads me to say that you can also start tatsoi or mustard greens this month. I'm not starting them because I've already started a bunch back in September and October, but there's still plenty of time to start them this month. I'll be starting some dill and cilantro. So I do already have some cilantro growing in the beds, but I'm succession planting them. So every couple of weeks, I'll come out and sprinkle some more seeds in the beds, kind of lightly push them down into the soil and let them come up whenever they decide to come up. I really can't get enough of cilantro. I love it so much. And out here, I only have short windows to grow it before it bolts because cilantro, like spinach, is also very fussy. It doesn't like the warmer, hotter temperatures. It will bolt really quickly. Now, as far as seed starts, that's it for me, but a couple others did come to mind, and I'm not starting them this month, although this month is the perfect time to start them, but I'm not starting anymore because I already started a bunch in early October. But the nasturtiums, if you are interested in growing edible flowers with those edible leaves, nasturtiums are a really great one to start this month, as well as the mustard greens, like I just mentioned, and collard greens, as well as chives, bunching onions, green onions. Those can all be started this month too. Now let's walk through parts of the garden to show you what's currently thriving. All of my fruiting trees and perennial plants, like this asparagus bed, is doing wonderful. This is their favorite time of the year. It's where everything is looking just beautiful and lush. All the fruit trees are just exploding with new growth. In one of my raised beds, I've got some tatsoi that just took off and is thriving. Aside from the occasional little muncher, doing quite well. Have some green onions on this side. On the other side of the bed, we have some carrots that have taken off. It's a little hard to see because of the sun. And if you notice, I have a lot of bare areas, and that's because I'm reserving these spots for my rhubarb. I'll be putting one or two in this bed, and I'm not so much concerned about the spacing because we're growing rhubarb as an annual, not a perennial, so it's not going to grow gigantic like it would if it were growing as a perennial in the northern states. In the bed right next to it, I have some basil in the back. On this side, I have a different variety of basil. This is cinnamon basil that I've grown in the past. I really love this variety of basil. It actually does have a slight cinnamon flavor. Back here, I have some cilantro. This is a radish, one of my strawberry plants, some buttercrunch lettuce, and a golden midget watermelon that I've allowed to sprawl down and kind of continue growing along the ground next to this Mexican sunflower. You want to know what else is thriving? The absolute meanest weed ever. I think they're called coast sandburrs. Let me know if you know what I'm talking about. Let me show you. I mean, granted, this area of the garden is kind of unkept, but these are so mean. I've been pulling them out of the ground every time I see them, but man, are they thriving. I have some seedlings that I started back in October: New Zealand spinach, rhubarb, ground cherry, got some collards, some butterfly milkweed, celery, recao or culantro, which for the first time ever I've been able to germinate thanks to Teresa, who sent me some nice fresh seeds from her plant. Thank you so much, Teresa. A gajillion guava seedlings, 3 different varieties that I started from seed. In this bed, we have different varieties of tomatoes and tomatillos. The tomatillos that I'm growing are both purple and the standard green varieties. I have some Ethiopian kale along this side of the bed. Here's one of my tomatillos doing lovely. Here's another one. Now on the other side of the bed, I have another golden midget watermelon that's doing really nice. Another one up here that's fruiting. These golden midget watermelons are really cool because they only get to about this size and they are pretty quick to ripen and mature on the vine. So starting them in late September or early October gives us plenty of time before the colder weather kicks in. Over here in this unkept jungly wonderland, I have Monstera deliciosas that I grew from seed. They're all thriving and doing lovely in this dappled light, mostly shade that they get throughout the day. Just look at that. They are doing so good. Over here we have our angel's trumpet or brugmansias that I grew from cuttings that were given to me by a lovely friend. All of these that you see here were started from seed, and half of them are soursops or guanabanas, and the other half are sugar apples. I did have something come through and start munching on my guanabana or soursop leaves, but they've left our sugar apples alone. But you know, I don't blame them. These soursop leaves are so nutritious, so many health benefits. I have these Gulf fritillary butterflies that keep trying to lay eggs on my poor passion vine. This one here is a giant passion fruit variety. My bigger vine, which is a purple variety, got completely torn up by the caterpillars. I'll show you what that looks like here in a few. In this container here, we have the lovely leaf of life plant. And a couple months ago, I did a video about this plant and showed how you can grow a brand new plant just from one of these leaves. You place this leaf in some soil and it'll start sprouting up new plants along the edges of the leaf. And this is exactly how this beautiful plant came about. And now we have this gorgeous, lush leaf of life plant that I'm going to be keeping in this container. I have several others in ground, but I want to make sure that it will do well over the winter. So I'm keeping these here potted up just as an insurance policy. We still have some sun hemp that's going strong. I didn't take these down because I wanted to keep them not only for their flowers, but also to collect some seeds. Let me show you what that looks like here. It actually split right open. Let me show you another one so you can hear this little. This is one of my cranberry hibiscus. It looks like it's starting to flower. Here's another one. This one's taller than I am, also starting to form its little flower buds. Here's one of my nasturtiums that I started in October, also doing lovely. It's going to be growing around this Himalayan mulberry. I do have a few others that I've planted around some other fruiting trees. This one here is my pineapple guava or feijoa. All of my ashwagandhas are looking really lovely too. This is just one of several that I have planted in ground. My little shampoo ginger patch is doing nice. Got some spiral ginger back here. My roselle is doing lovely. What you see here are 3 separate roselle plants. They're now about 7+ feet tall. They have just gone crazy with new growth and flowers and calyces in the month of October. So they're all working on ripening up and getting nice and big before harvest. These are looking pretty nice, almost close to harvest time. These beds over here are looking quite bare, and that's because I'm saving some of the space for my rhubarb. But I have some strawberry plants in here. I have some radish back here, as well as in this bed. Over here we have some more carrots and another golden midget watermelon that I'm allowing to kind of just sprawl down and continue growing along the floor, or ground I should say. Sweet potatoes are doing lovely. These beautiful flowers. Now let's check out the parts of the garden that are currently struggling. Since we're in this same area, let me show you that yes, I do have a couple of strawberry plants here, but most of them did not make it. I did have several strawberry bare roots planted out here and in a couple other beds, and a few made it while the others did not. This here used to be home to a raspberry cane, which has also died. And you know what that means? That means I have to buy another one. I just have to. Something came through and ate all the leaves off my peppers. They are trying to come back though. Back over here where a lot of my annuals are, I had planted out a lot of sugar snap pea seeds that never germinated. So I think I was just using older seeds that weren't really viable anymore. So I went out and bought another pack of sugar snap seeds, which you saw earlier. And I will be planting these out where I have some space so they can grow up this trellis. But yeah, that was a fail. This loofah vine may seem like it's doing great, but it's pretty much done. This will be our final fruit before it completely dies off. I did recently harvest one and turned it into a sponge. I plan on doing the same with this one. And then next year, when I get to harvest a lot more than I was able to harvest this fall, I'll be creating a lot more of these sponges to gift out to friends and family. My Mexican sunflowers, specifically the Tithonia rotundifolias, are pretty much gone. Now, this is the first year that I've grown this specific variety, so I'm not sure if this is normal or if this was due to a disease. If you have grown or are currently growing this variety of Mexican sunflower, let me know if this is normal this time of year. I know they readily self-seed, and I have collected a few seeds, but I'm also letting them fall back down here on the ground so that they can pop back up in the springtime. These other Mexican sunflowers, though, they're doing pretty good. These are the Tithonia diversifolias. Looks like they're getting ready to flower too. Check this out. What are we looking at here? We have an eaten up passion fruit vine, all thanks to the Gulf fritillary butterflies that laid 1,000 eggs along this entire vine. I let those little eggs hatch, and their little caterpillars did quite the number on this vine. It'll bounce back up in the springtime, so I'm not really worried. Back over in another raised bed, I did have some more bare root strawberries planted out here, but only a couple made it. And there we have it, some plant starts for November, as well as a quick garden tour to show you what's thriving and what has struggled throughout the month of October into November. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and I will see you on our next one. Bye!